One last thing before going into first bull run. I took a moment to label my units by their weapons. It isn't necessary now, with only 10 units in the army, but it'll save a lot of time checking units in battle later. The pre-battle numbers seem to be slightly in our favor, but remember, it'll take some time for Johnston's reinforcements to arrive, so really we have free rein to execute this attack however we see fit. Within the time limit, of course. Let's pause because I want to talk about the false objectives that just popped up in the upper right corner. I get the feeling new players get tricked into thinking they need to capture Matthews Hill and Stone Bridge, but if we check the objective conditions button, we can see all we need to do to win is capture Henry Hill. So the only significance these points serve is you'll progress the phase should you capture them before the timer runs down. But then, with all the advantage in our favor, do we even want to? Stone Bridge in particular looks like a death trap with breastworks guarding the other side. Why would we even attempt to cross here? Particularly knowing what historically happened when the Union did. No, I think I'll find another point to cross. I have mixed feelings about the flank attack happening from the start. It's plausible this could have happened as the attack was historically late and contributed to the failure of this attempted water crossing, but it also puts the AI at an extreme disadvantage as they have no real way of stalling me here. Perhaps this was done intentionally to make the Confederate campaign more challenging. I guess it's fine, since the attack arriving on time just means less time for the player to sit idle on the eastern bank, unable to cross Bull Run. So how did the Union historically lose with such an easy setup? First Bull Run highlighted many deficiencies typical of the first year of the war. Despite fielding armies over 30,000 strong, each side effectively committed just 18, less than 2/3 of their total strength, and their strategies were executed poorly, especially on the Union side. I thought I had properly shielded the artillery with my infantry, but the Clay Dragoons managed to find the one spot they could ride around to get to the guns. Even so, launching an unsupported cavalry attack like this was an error on the part of the AI. With tactics like that, I can't help but destroy the entire enemy army in every engagement. Looking back, it's pretty cringe the developers advertised their AI as innovative and very capable. It couldn't be more obvious in hindsight this game desperately needed multiplayer. I know they had it in Ultimate General Gettysburg, and it wasn't very popular apparently, but of course it wasn't. That was a single battle with predetermined historic setups. This game covers the entire Civil War and has limitless replayability in the camp. Imagine a two-player multiplayer campaign with custom armies. That's all the game needed. But instead, they offered difficulty options in the absolute laziest way possible, giving the AI opponent stronger troops and more of them. It's a relic from a time when games were simpler and couldn't be made more difficult by other means, and pretty disappointing when you realize a multiplayer game could have offered a true meaningful challenge. I know nothing will ever change no matter how many times I rant about them, so why do I even care so much? I don't know. Maybe for the off chance an aspiring developer sees this and agrees with me. One of the features I find most interesting about the Rebalance mod is how it depicts woods. In vanilla, any unit in woods has a huge advantage. But when you actually have to worry about your unit's condition, it makes a lot more sense to march around instead. And with the incredible power of charges in this mod, you can even use woods to slow and degrade the condition of enemies that try to charge in. We may think Civil War commanders must have been foolish to fight out in the open today, but often they were simply acknowledging these realities. I consider capturing Matthews Hill to advance the phase, but decide against it at the last minute. I'm content to let Bartow continue his suicidal attack. By the way, while the battles up till now have ended once the timer expired, it's here I need to lay down another house rule. If the timer expires, I must click finish if I am able, with one exception. If an objective is currently contested, I may continue until one side has captured it, to prevent both the AI and myself from turning a sure loss into a draw by charging everything onto a point at the last minute. I anticipate this will change my approach to certain late war battles, like the Mule Shoe, for instance, where the optimal legendary strategy up till now has been to bombard the powerful defensive works with infinite ammo artillery. Now I'll be compelled to actually assault the works, as was historical. Politics of the time demanded tangible progress. Wars aren't merely won on the battlefield, they're won by the will of the people. Passively laying siege in every situation would not have been enough to win Lincoln re-election. Besides, artillery don't have infinite ammo, so once the supply wagon ran dry, the works would still have had to be assaulted. Even without capturing the objective, The phase is still scripted to change when you advance past a certain point. My reinforcements have finally arrived, and my assault will soon compel the Confederates to abandon their position, blocking my crossing of Bull Run. Falling back to defend Henry Hill is this innovative and very capable AI's best hope for victory. But will it? Let's find out. I thought the Confederates might try crossing Stonebridge to attack me, which is why I left my cavalry hidden in the wheat. Even I didn't think the AI would attempt to attack such a strong position at Farm Ford. But here the rebel skirmishers are, floundering about in the water, attempting to do just that. Ow! Cavalry cannot stand toe-to-toe with infantry in this period. I'll need to soften him up before trying that again. No more infantry shielding the artillery. You know what that means. Looks like I've caught the rebels in the water. Excellent. Time to mop up the 1st Louisiana Tigers. The 5th Virginia won't fare much better. Finally, I'm free to cross Bull Run unmolested. I even see some artillery placed exceptionally poorly in front of the breastworks. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth, I suppose. The artillery isn't quite in position to punish this charge fully, but the 2nd Virginia won't last long outnumbered like this. Hampton's Legion might actually be a problem if they break through my rookies and reach the guns shielded behind them, but I have Walton in reserve, so I'm not too concerned. Think I'm going to make the same costly charges across water? Nah, I don't need to when I can bring overwhelming firepower to bear. The Confederates want to stand in the woods, and that's fine. I'll shoot them until they don't. Now you can clearly see why a salient is such a dangerous position to be in. Just look at how much fire I can pour in compared to how much they can put out. The 1st Louisiana Tigers are forced out of their breastworks, but amazingly try to turn to face the new threat. These Confederates are either incredibly brave or incredibly dumb. These Allied melee cav are making me wonder whether focusing on skirmishers is a mistake. They are doing amazing things in this battle. Confederates have been thoroughly expelled from the woods, so I can cross with little difficulty. Lindsay might take one volley in the water, but after that, the Confederates will be in big trouble. The 4th South Carolina and a few batteries are now all that stand between me and Henry Hill. The victory condition. We're threatening the AI with checkmate. Let's see how it responds. my artillery will soon be in position, and when it is, the Confederates will have to abandon the hill. I was quite surprised one battery decided to surrender under fire alone. Clearly, they see how hopeless this position is. Now, B is making a beeline for the surrendered guns, allowing me to cross the remainder of the army unopposed. Now, I have to do something rather unfortunate. I didn't want to kill these guys, but if they're being prevented from surrendering at bayonet point, I'm afraid I have no choice. The first of many uncomfortable decisions to come. Confederates make a half-hearted effort to reoccupy Henry Hill, but it's too late now. A common strategy I see is to extend the Union right at an angle, because it puts any Confederate hoping to occupy Henry Hill into a crossfire. While this can certainly work, I don't favor it because it will make our right more susceptible to attack. And were we broken by the Confederates in such a position, there would be no line to retreat with the creek at our back. I think this setup is much more solid overall. They've got courage, all right. That alone wouldn't be enough if not for this new attack. Now this might actually be a problem. Let's make sure we're prepared to repel attacks from both directions. Another reason having a line in reserve is so powerful. This assault will quickly run out of steam if that flank attack doesn't move decisively soon. Trading volleys on the opposite bank won't be enough. Instead, they're retreating in the opposite direction. Way to leave your friends high and dry. With that, this battle is decided. Of course, there's still plenty of rebels left to fight, so let's break or capture as many of them as possible. Remember what I said about extending our right flank? Well, the situation has changed. Now is the time to do that. Now's the time to counterattack. The Confederates attempt another crossing in what can only be described as a last-ditch desperate effort by the AI to reverse the course of the battle. One thing to note about the generals, their hit points have been increased in the mod to discourage general sniping behavior by the player. But one consequence of this is that if you're in a position where you can run them down with melee cavalry, you can farm quite a lot of experience and weapons. It'd make more sense if they dropped swords and pistols, but I'm pretty sure they have Sharp's 1859 carbines. Still, they're free, so I'll take them. Less than 2,000 player casualties? My god. Results like these make me wonder if playing on normal difficulty was a mistake. But then I remember what awaits me on higher difficulties and figure I'd better stick to normal. If we check the captured goods, we can clearly see why. The Confederates were armed overwhelmingly with smoothbore muskets. It feels kind of unsportsmanlike to blast hapless AIs that don't even have rifles. But it's just first Bull Run. It's going to get harder, surely. Especially with some of the house rules I've laid down. With that, we have completed first Bull Run, and I will see you next time in the Shiloh campaign.